Still. Okay. Well, good evening, all. As you know, I'm Honourable Lee Clegg, and I'm here for the first public meeting, which we are busy at this moment in time getting everybody on or adding everybody to the meeting. To answer some of your questions and just go through what the UCC, the World Marshal Authority, the World Health Authority, the World Agricultural Authority, and AlterNations is all about. So if you can bear with us for a couple of moments, and I shall also bring in the General, who is the Judiciary and the Emir of UCC 1, Common Law, Natural Law. Is he there yet? Okay, so I do have a list of questions that have been asked. If you can just show me.
One is, how does common law stand up in court?
Well, common law is a superseding law. Common law was actually brought into or born in Norway in 700 AD. So it has been the supreme law over all laws since then. It's not it is the highest law. So in a common court or in a non-on-record court, so if I can just go basically through the court systems. So you have the Sovereign International Justice Courts, you have the ICC, the ICJ, the Hague, and we have, the General has his own two de jure on-record courts in the American or America Republica, the Commonwealth of Virginia. So as you know, your Supreme Court is a private entity. It's the only on-record court there is. The federal courts are not on-record courts. So there's been a lot of, a major amount of illegal activity within these courts. So if you do go into a court, for example, the civils or anything else, and a judge asks you under Admiralty law, your name, where you are from, and you clearly answer with yes, then you are then under their rule. This is what a lot of people don't understand, is when you go into a court and you ask that judge for his oath to common law or to be tried in personam, there's not much more they can do about it because that is the common law. And if they are not oathed in the common law, then they have actually no legal right to try you unless you give them permission to do so. So if you go to a lawyer who deems you disabled, then you already have somebody to speak for you because you're incapable of speaking for yourself. So that's where common law basically stands within courts. And the General will go further into that with you because he has a lot to say about this and how the UCC is the ruling laws, universal commercial codes. It is the commercial codes because everything is a commercial entity. From the royal houses seals all the way through to the guy who maybe operates a market stall with a license or is under registrar. So in 1930, the Geneva Convention, UCC common law land laws, which was born 1750 in the US or in the American Republica pre-Constitution, that is the supreme law. So that has, like I said, was born in 700 AD. Natural law is in the Bible itself or any other religious order. The General is a Seminole priest, which predates biblical times or biblical writings, the same as the Quran and every other religion that has derived. So we deal, like I said, with the highest courts there is on the planet, not just the generals. We've leaned and levied via the UCCs. So the world was allowed to operate in the bankruptcy for a short time in 1930s Geneva Convention under UCC natural law, common law. Then you had the RBI 1933, which was still under bankruptcy. So therefore it was null and void. And then you have the newer formats of UCC 1956, 57. They are the UCCs that you see on Google, for example. Google is a corporation, it's an organization. It also falls under UCC bankruptcy. So, hello, good sir. So, okay. Let me just. Hi, General, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, thank you so much.
I've just made a brief introduction into the UCC, the World Marshal Authority. I don't know if you heard the part about the Geneva Convention and so on and so forth. So the question, or the main question was, how does common law stand in a court? And does it have any power and authority?
Yes, well, what we have to realize is two things. You have ancient tribunals, and then you have courts that are corporated. You know, when you're talking in terms of a court, people sometimes create a court to effectuate what they want. In short, you have very sensitive issues between Aboriginals, Indigenous, and colonial. And it has always been, how can I say, a misunderstanding between who is landowner and who in essence is lease to use the land. And what happened, and I hope I want to answer your questions, but I want to make certain that we're in the proper psychology so that you will not be undermined. And again, I'm not getting personal. I never do that. We're dealing with facts in a chronological sequence that has breached upon many lands, starting with 1450. So I'm going to start back there. And it happened before, but we comprehend when a person such as Pope Francis Profound to make a discovery and to educate or to share with people that the lands were encroached upon. So all contracts and all pretending courts are subjected to that because that was the Sister-Q Trust. And in essence, when the people arrived on the shores of Aboriginal and Indigenous people, there was agreements. The original situation is to not change the original people. A lot of role play went through historical documents to sort of push certain agendas where people were posed to be non-competence mentans or not intelligent. That was not so. Explicitly here, the Commonwealth was a trust that was put in place respecting nations that pre-existed them by thousands of years. That was in the Virginia Council on Indian Affairs in 1996 under that particular governor. And I forgot his name. I typically is on the top of my tongue, but that particular governor had written a legal sequence or a presentment to the public. It was promulgated that we would represent our own selves. The term in terms of representation would be that you would have your own pre-existing jurisdiction. So all of that goes with your banking, no matter how primitive it perceives to be, if this person exchanging this and that. At nature or at customary international law, those that swore on a two-lane highway, and that is to effectuate primarily the sovereign and what was rolled out to protect all at liberties. We can talk about freedoms, but DOM is on the back of it, is still capped. You're a freed man or freed woman is different from someone who's at liberty. I don't have to talk to you about freedom. I was born at liberty. So the courts, C-O-U-R-T-S, are fictions just like basketball court, football court. Rules are played within the statutorized rules of proceedings. And that is left for them to estoppel at any time, no matter what type of presentment that you make. The court, in essence, that is pretending is bound at common law, whether they pretend or not. And it is tied to an arrest warrant, as we know. Far too often we may read about Title 18 United States Code 241, 242, Uniform Bonding Code, in essence, 241, 242. It has a fee schedule there already for those that are acting in the capacity as public officials or within that so-called court capacity to respect dearly the statutes at large. If you need help with your education or instructing or constructing a writ or any type of legal sequences to deposit, depositions, things like that, they are there to not only take the deposit, but to come out the room and to educate you. So there has been many people that you want to maybe fantasize about going to the local township or the county court. The parliamentary has sworn by. In fact, I'm going to read something to you all. This is very important. And let me go to my board so that you know that I'm going to use a real chopper. Okay. And please forgive I twisted my knee, so I'm limping a little bit. But I'm going to go over here and I'm going to read something to you because it's very important so that we understand what we're talking about here. Let me go to, yes, this one here. Okay. Can you hear me clearly? This is the Code of Virginia, Title 1, General Provisions, Chapter 2.1, Common Law and the Rules of Construction. Article 1, Common Law and Acts of Parliament, Code 1-200, the Common Law. Before we get to the parliamentary being created, listen, the common law of England, insofar as it is not repugnant to the principles of the Bill of Rights and the construction of this Commonwealth, shall continue in full force with the same, comma, and be the rules of decision, comma, another jurisdiction comes up, or legal fiction, except where it is altered by the General Assembly, okay? So you have to watch the grammar. What this is saying is that before any acts that are created, that the rules of common law, everything would be subjected to this. It's precluded. No one can show federal state actor, judge, no one, okay? So we get to the second code, 1-200, Acts of Parliament. Then it gets down to what they can do after God or the nature law allows you to pretend or to manifest. It is the rights and benefits of all writs. Let's stop there first. Writs, meaning tribunals of the highest king and of the queen, respects be to the women, to the highest queen and the king, the tribunals of the sovereign of the royals, the courts in essence of nature, of natural law, respecting customary and national law in all life forms. Writs is the tribunal that is for trespass against liberties. Now let me continue, please. We go here, comma, remedial and judicial given by any statute or act of parliament, comma, made in aid of the common law prior to the 4th reign of James I of a general nature, comma, not local to England, comma, shall still be saved insofar as the same as consistent with the Bill of Rights and the construction of, and the Constitution of this Commonwealth and the acts of the General Assembly. So you have 4 different entities in the beginning that are told sequentially who would hold the power. Let me read them back to you. This is in every charter, typically on every continent. This is the colonial construct after the intrusion. So this is where the problem comes in, where courts are to have a specific lane or an administration for a specific process that distinguish the debtor from the creditor or the aboriginal from the civilian, or the one in essence who is severability, as they have in here. I don't need to be anything other than to just be free. And I can deem all that's what's in my charter to not exist. That's severability. They have that also in most of your charters. A non-citizen, non-General Assembly legislative citizen. It is in the constitutions. So the lobbyists and all of these different type of political guys, politics is for the administration of a government or some fiction. It's distinguished from nature. So they're going to run their brand of tennis shoe in the store. This is what shoe you need to be running, depending on what crowd and how large it is, and how loud they are and how influential they are over the next people. So let me read to you the 4 different ones here. Let's go back. It says the Bill of Rights, which is to be a federal force to enforce the rights, not question. That's a security bond, 100% non-negotiable, okay? Then we have the Constitution, which is another situation that points to Article 3, 4, and 6. Ministers, ambassadors, diplomats, consuls, that's a different jurisdiction via Title 22 United States Code to remind them, see, that these are different people, consuls and insulars of that nature. Then you have Article 4, unnegotiable, any public sector that deems any statutes to be, no. Article 4 is the Republic. It is solid, the preamble, it is God, it's those people, it's a separate platform to keep integrity over the bureaucrats. Now let me continue a little bit more. We have here the Commonwealth, which is a trust, commonweal, all people having in common wealth, okay? Then we have acts of assembly, see? So you have 4 different situations here. And what people are left victim of is that the public trustee has decided to become conflict of interest and to steal the benefit that is guaranteed for the beneficiary. And of course, a debt-stricken system, so that the signatures that create the wealth, the one is the mortgager going out the door, not knowing it. And if they miss a payment and illegal money, which is not fair again, it is illegal to demand cash, Title 31 USC 5118, parentheses 2, D enclosed. In short, it is illegal to demand a specific, and the trustees could not do it. And they wanted the note so that one would be at default. So that would be them encumbering lands where they will put up imaginary fence, and then they will have their security, which would be the local township police policy. And this is not a system that has not, this is not what God wanted in the beginning. This was something that was hijacked at the time. When you read all of the developments around 1450, this particular king of this Pontiff Nicholas had dispatched criminals all over the world. Okay, I would have to see it this way because of what has been effectuated, not so much in what is legal, but there was a disdainment, knowing that when they hit the islands of Americas or any other continents, they had the mindset to share with the people that they perceived or were told to be primitive. We're going to take them salvation in the name of Jesus. So a great book that you may want to get, and we'll try to have it online. I have it in my suitcase, but I don't want to limp again. It is the 1606-1624 Gettysburg book. It is, the title is The Virginia Dissolution of 1606-1624. And in there, that is the number one, the fact of the status of Virginia, before we get to any of what Lincoln did or any of these people came after the fact. And in 1930, they made it very plain that something was against liberties. They foreclosed on all continents, and the use of legislation or legislative law practicing with a legislature became illegal. To legislature. I have a term called let us slave her. That's what experiences that I've gotten from that particular incorporation. So when we're talking in terms of court, I wanted to share these things with you because you would need to comprehend what the facts are. And the only way that you're going to get the blessings and the fortunes of what is that you look at the facts of the chronological sequence that would distinguish you from racism and hatred and degradation. That is the intent of what wickedness that would keep you from facilitating or harnessing what was laid out for us. So when I begin to construct or sequence these codifications and decrees from all over the world, it was not something that I sat down in one night or 2 or 3 years to do. It was an experience of my relations with going in and sitting with the courts, the pretenders, whether they were the FBI, Homeland Security, United States Marshal Services, and I wanted to share with them. No fights. Let's just get to the memorandum. So I was able to pass all of that in flying colors, even though I was not left to be inspected, but I've sat before the terrorism unit, calling the white collar crimes division of the FBI, which pledged to be tenacious against those who retaliate against you if you execute a writ or if you hold a bureaucrat accountable. So it is not for discussion. It has not been taught at the general populace. This is what we've been doing here, Perseverando. You're not coming to the state of Virginia. You're coming to the Great Seal Perseverando. This particular landmass is at trust and in the secretary's office. I'm not fond to Thomason or Kelly Thomason or Janet Kelly. All of these secretaries and people, they know I by first name. I may not be their favored man because I'm the reminder of their default, but I have a great relationship of security because what I have is something that they tapped into that bona fide my ability to do what I do. They brought me to the world as their banker, as the one who funded them. So, you know, I take it as acceptance for value, and I was able to solidify and secure the performance that they're not going to do. So that gives I all the ability to creditize and monetize or securitize or collateralize because of their infidelities. So I'm not going to complain. I was able to take that because I know that I am nature or common law, so I don't ask questions. As a transmitted utility, I would transmit and dictate one way to the receptor, those who are indebted to receive. And if they do not perform, then they're at default. I didn't ask them to be in that position. They put on the uniform. So when they got into that uniform, they became subject to you monetize, fee schedule if they do not do as you tell them to do. Okay, this is everywhere. No bureaucrat, no one that swears an oath to nature decides that they're going to go technocrat and decide they're going to bureaucrat and mess up the planet. So I'm not talking with them. I'm going to transmit one way, and my duty is for them to see the salvation. We have a great program where we do not beat up on people. I couldn't have not done any of what I've accomplished in the simplest if I was boisterous, disrespectful. I had to be overly mountable, very peaceful, not having literally no weaponry as a priest. I'm out here and I had to do everything that I could do to get the attention, to call the bluff of those who want to fight, those who don't want things to be changed, those who know what to do, but don't have the assets or the monetary to do, those who have it, but refuse to do it. What can we do to manifest? So I call everybody bluff. And how you call it is not by the money, it's by the status. So when they put the court on the corner, they deem themselves to be a servant. And you are the one that is the oversight to that bond. The holder of the county, the bond holder to that is we the people, not in question. You will not find one to support you all the time. Please trust the facts of the words and the letters. They will be your guide and they will indemnify you, especially if you find the proper memorandum. So we know about Marbury versus Madison. Any laws or rules that are made repugnant or contrary to the Constitution is null and void. But what is the Constitution? And is it for everyone? So you have reserves in there for the First Nation people. That don't mean that they're greater or less than. Most of them have been destitute and have not been educated and have been poorly victimized because their trusts have been tapped in to back the county that uses it as credits or in essence equities to put more prisons up, to come up with excuses of their infidelities. And it's just a crazy chaotic system. So we have the resolve. Court, tribunal, two different things. Aboriginal Consular Court, Aboriginal Insular Tribunal is unlike any court or insular tribunal. You may mostly hear consular. So I'm inland, insular. I don't like to play with the word foreign because I'm not foreign to my landmass. I know what Title 17 USC says in the United States. I'm not going to be long-winded. I'm just trying to give you all psychology of when I say something. Okay, well, this man has lived this. Okay, well, what does the FBI say? Well, what did the aggressive boys with the machine guns got to say? Okay, well, I'm gonna share with you what they said. Then they were able to transmit to I, and we were able to reason as long as I stayed at bond. Nobody can move you because they cannot get around the uniform. So if you comprehend those things, you are fine. We're gonna execute writs from this jurisdiction because they are for the specific purpose of keeping what you do not want, whatever assaults away from you, what is foreign, it would be trespass against your vessel. So we may be used to sometimes proceedings, and different people have proceedings on different continents that are not too foreign from the confederacies or those that have gone on to other continents. The parliamentarians are somewhat the same, and the interactions have been the same, where the people are not benefiting. So we're not going to destroy anything, but there's a time in life where, as they did, patrolling the streets of the land and caught the sovereign at the stoplight, and they said that he ran the stoplight, and they became legislature judicial and executive on the spot. It don't work that way, okay? It never worked that way. And these things have stopped. When I wrote or when I writ, I'm not going to say we have to stop them. It's a vibration. It was written before before Honorable Lee, before all of us. And what we're doing is being respectful. And I do thank Honorable Lee for his due diligence and his serious, well, even before I met them, because they are so precise at the simplistics of what we need to focus on. So really comprehend what pertains to you. When you see this seal, this is not political. This is liberties guaranteed. And of course, in the Secretary's archives, it says to sustain the blessings of liberties. So it doesn't make a difference about the hue or the complexion of the women. They don't look too much like I, but I can respect the fact that somebody loved I, and it's on my birth certificate to sustain the blessings of liberty. So I thank you. Hopefully, if you all have any questions, I can detail them a little bit more.
Yeah, we actually do have questions from people on the chat.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, one of them are the World Marshals the same as the World Marshal Authority? Would that be the US Marshals?
Well, you have the US Marshals, Ted, we know very well, we've spoken to him, and they're actually they want to go under the same or back to the same laws that we enforce, which is the common law. So we don't actually have any problems. And as I explained, the spelling of our marshals with a T is actually the way it's written on our oath. And it precedes the letter S. So with that, keeping that in mind, then it gives you, I kept it as it was because it's not martial law. Nobody's going to come in and lock you up and everything else. Well, they're already doing that. So the point is, no, nothing to do with that type of martial law or a military intervention into your nation or nations. So we are actually the UCC law enforcement. It's private and commercial law enforcement. It's international. There is no enforcement higher because, as the general just explained, they are all at commerce. So you have the uniform commercial codes. They're in uniform.
Yes.
So as they operate under state or federal laws or whatever laws that they fall under, they're all fictional. Because as the general says, you know, there's no such thing as fed diction, state diction, but there is jurisdiction, and we are juris at law. So that is, and if you want to just briefly explain about the juris aspect of it, jurisprudence and sui juris, sui generis, what they actually mean, that'd be very insightful for everybody on the call.
Okay, I'll be quick with these subjects.
Okay.
The sui juris is one who manages their own affairs, one who's not subjected to any political infidelities at all. It is completely distinguished. You are executive, judicial, and legislature, but let's get rid of legislature. You're able to promulgate the passing out of your private laws or private bills, okay? That was reserved, of course, for the juris. And as he stated, it is not state diction or fed diction, it is juris, meaning to be at law, jurisprudence, the science that pertains to law and nature. To perfect that, in essence, is to respect that. And of course, one more other point, on the sui generis. Sui generis is one who's unique. So we had to articulate or put together or manifest a sui juris proceeding or process is unique. If you go into the Title 18, Section 4, United States Code, Conspiracy Against Justice, it tells you that if they can't resolve the matter, then to look for a force or an entity outside of the United States. And then they add, may not having any interest within. Well, of course, you want to say that. But they do talk about in Washington and Lee Law Review that here, okay, in the Washington and Lee Law Review, that there would be private forces that would be at the domestic level as well, okay? And one more thing that I want to add on when he was talking in terms of martial law. The reason is because that's ancient. And, you know, sometimes if you go on some of your karate movies or kung fu movies, you will see that they use that term. Now, why? It's because it's organic and connecting to a royal or an emperor or an empire. So, of course, it goes back further. And there was no foul play, and all debts were settled that day. You know, might not have been the way we wanted to settle them, but they did do that. In terms of martial, let's read real quick, because I want to share with you that martial law can only be declared by the original people anyway, okay? It can't be declared by a trust or colonial force. Let me prove it to you. If I went to Italy and, you know, let's just be straight. You see how I look? We got to get to the facts here. We got to get to the points. We got to start communicating and talking about some issues here. So if I go to the Italians, I would respect them and I would not undermine them. I don't care who's in my ear. See, if they invite I into their land as colony, I will perfect my relationship with them and would never dare to undermine them, because I'm not a bastard son. And I'm not going to undermine their salvation or sovereignty, because it would be I not being sovereign. You see? So these were completely diabolical criminals that wanted to dress, beware wolves in sheep clothing. And they took on this law. And they're going to be held liable to making mockery of their Jesus, because these are clergymen and women that they know they were not to do these things. So let me read to you martial law, please, so that you can comprehend that civilians needed to be careful. The United States declared martial law in 2007. I counted them. John Murtha, the House head, he was a Democratic leader at the time before Nancy Pelosi and Ron Paul or Paul Ryan, you know, he got into that position. So I'm looking at television and I'm always studying the news to try to keep up, even though it might be fake news or whatever. But in 2007, 2008, he comes across the TV screen and he says, bing, 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 enough, enough, martial law, bing, 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 bing. Everybody go wild in the Congress. I jumped out of my seat. I said, I know what this means. I immediately went and counted them. And I've already had a badge. I had a priest badge. And of course, I'm protected tribe in the nation. I had to call their bluff because it was calling my bluff. And I couldn't run from what I heard, because I know what they were doing was posturing over trying to take over the land. You cannot do it. So as you see, I have Aboriginal martial law officers, Aboriginal Martial Law University, Aboriginal Consular Court, Aboriginal Insular Tribunal. And I was very much promoting and sitting with them, went to the State Department with Condoleezza Rice administration at that time. I was able to sit with the United States Marshal Services, Jane Kim, and that was Christopher Clay Edwards. And at the time, the director was Stacy Hilton, okay? And I knew a lot of these people by their first name. So I took this not to their approval. We don't get any approval from anybody. Remember, I'm First Nation man. If the corporate man, you may go and ask, or you need more education. That's what you have to deal with. But martial law, let's see now, okay? Please bear with me. Exists when military authorities carry on government or exercise various degrees of control over civilians, or civilian authorities in domestic territories. Nobody else, listen, civilians. So you have to be distinguished from the debtor. And that's what they were trying to undermine. If you said you were secure party creditor, or Aboriginal, or Indigenous, or Indian, or this and that, well, who did we say you are? No, when you approach I'm open for an exchange. But if I'm looking like a civilian, then it's a little bit different. So they know that I'm billboard marked, see? So if I have any mark of any, it wouldn't be the beast or theirs, it would be my. Know ye men by their presentments, know ye women by their presentments. So I'm going through a port, Perseverando. See, CCTV, the configurations that happen, this and that is not left to speculation, because they declared illegally martial law on my land. All right, let me put it to this one. When I say that my land, I'm being respectful to everyone, all other nations and tribes, all the people that's been here before. Now let's go further. A system of law obtaining only in time of actual war and growing out of the exigencies thereof arbitrary in its character and depending only on the will of the commander of an army, which is established and administered in a place or district of hostile territory held in belligerent possession, or sometimes in places occupied, pervaded by insurgents or mobs, or which suspends all existing, listen, civil laws, civilian laws. It didn't say private man, Aboriginal, Indigenous, Native, sui juris, common law, natural law. It's talking about employees of a fiction, them. So they, when they declared martial law, they cut their necks off. They the ones that is under martial law because they are a civilian force. Civil process, civil courts, the courts that you're asking me about, see? So they don't exist, all righty? Now, let's go further. Martial law, let's look at the footnotes. And remember, when you read your dictionary, you gotta understand it might be Scottish law, French law, you know, Indian man law, you know, their definitions they'll tell you. So just don't go on English. You know, you read everything and see how everybody's feeling about this natural situation all over the world. Then it should be a commonality. Thou shalt not injure, and thou shalt not commit fraud in the conveyance or divesting anyone of any liberties or sovereignties that they do have. So let's go forth. Martial law, which is built upon no subtle principles, they say principles, but is entirely arbitrary in its decision, is in truth and reality no law. Now that's what they say. Now listen, let's listen carefully. Do not form no opinions because again, I got the shirt on and I've had martial law at trade and whatever, you know, going and out, you know, for many years now. All right. So, but something indulged rather than allowed as law. Why? Why are they saying that? Because the person that wrote this is not in essence an Aboriginal. Okay. Now, most people wouldn't get that, but I know because this person has not brought up the aura of the respect for what's natural. They just went into military and they just started talking about they got power. No, you got to go back to the beginning first. So let's go here. Let's read on. The necessity of order and discipline in an army is the only thing which can give it countenance. And therefore, it ought not to be permitted in time of peace when the king's courts are open for all persons to receive justice according to the laws of the land. When would that be? When would it be? When was all of the courts, when was this peaceful court or the king was going to come back? It's called writs. Writs is the king. You get it? Writs is the queen. Okay? So that's is the one that runs the military of the commander. This particular definition this person or whoever wrote it tried to personify themselves. And you have to be a law for a while to kind of pick this stuff up because I've been at it for a short while. You know, in the canonical laws, I'm 51 years young, but I have maybe 30 or 40 years of canonical laws. You know, both my parents, my grandparents were deacons and they were trustees and they worked with the sheriff department. That's where you get your license from. So clergy, as the Pope said, they're one people. All righty. So we go further. Martial law is neither more nor less than the will of the general who commands the army. It overrides and suspended all civil laws, civil officers, civil authorities by the arbitrary exercise of military power, and every citizen or subject, in other words. This is not Lamont Belton saying this. Listen carefully. The entire population of the country within the contents of its power is subjected to the mere will or caprice of the commander, period. He holds the lives, liberties, properties of all in the palm of his hand. Martial law is regulated by or established system or code of laws as it is over and above all of them. Now, why didn't they say that in the beginning? Why didn't they say that in the beginning? See, it's over all of them. Okay, this is I'm not reading Lamont's book. This is Black's Law Dictionary book. See, all tore up. See how Lamont go through his stuff here? The raggedy one. This is my computer. You see? So we have here on page 1126, 4th edition. That's just one dictionary. You got both vowels and you got first, second, third edition of all of these different definitions, but they all, I've read them all, and they all come and conclude on this note. All right, and it says the commander is the legislator, judge, and executioner. That's sui juris. I just said that. Judicial, executive, and legislature. Okay, so it didn't put them in place. They tried to use this particular dictionary, and if Aboriginal or natural people do not have the intuitiveness to discern, then these people would jack your land in the midst of military. I'm one of you all. So I thank you for asking the question about martial law, because it feared me, and I had to stand up. And I figured it was my ancestors, not just through this dictionary. I have sat with other elders, Marshall, Mauritanian people, Adamati Maritime came from those people. Ancient Phoenicians, ancient Kemetic people, high sailors of the seas. And they had gaols across the lands. When certain people would trade spices and things that they defaulted, they would put them in prison. They had prisons up and down the several seas. Okay, so I hope that makes it plain. I'm martial law to offset them so that they can deal with the Aboriginal, because in the United Nations DRIP, Declaration of Rights of Indigenous and Tribal People, it says that we are the ones who would give the dictates to the military and control the maneuvers on our landmass. So they didn't put that in the 4th edition, you see? So I had to read a lot of different things to scattered puzzles that are, somebody loved us and we just needed to put them in its proper sequence, and that took a gift, and I'm thankful for God for that. So I respect you all in the highest. Aboriginal martial law, world martial law authority is to protect nature. So you would much better take a chance with your brother or your sister that loves you and care for you, that is created a vouch system. See, if you couldn't trust me if I said we had a note system, see, because there's going to be some default. So, you know, martial law gets kind of scary a little bit. Who would be coming back around and sort of collect up or settle the deficits? No, you are judicial legislator. I mean, executive and legislature, sui juris, manage and handle your own affairs. And then you make your presentments, of course, to counteract the tortfeasor or the ones who violated you at torturous behavior, which is a notorious act. The production of evidence is not necessary, something that the common notary knows that you ought to do or not to do. Malfeasance, gross willful negligence to be injurious. Misfeasance, I made a mistake. I didn't know what to do. Well, somebody's injured, you still got to pay or take care of them. Non-feasance, well, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do nothing all day. Stuff backing up all over the place, stuff going crazy, injuries everywhere, but I did nothing. Non-feasance, it still led to an injury. So we must have tribunal, see, which is an indictment that offsets the grand jury. Yes, oh yeah, a de jure judicial notice does that. You don't need a jury. And in fact, they are illegal because of the 1930, because there's no one sound as sui juris that can basically come to a decision within the proper psychology of what we're talking about, because the state has brought the person up on charges, which is not sound because they can't, you see? So there's a lot of intricate details that the World Marshal or AlterNations has, and we're prepared to educate or to share with people further and to take the time so that everyone would know that it's a benefit or sustain. Why would I do this? I was a victim. I was homeless. I was on the street. I came up here amongst my people and they assaulted so-called black judge. Well, he, you know, that's what he called himself. He's civilian, sort of looked like but I'm an Aboriginal. Hey, he didn't look like Lee or you all, the different ones here. We're not brothers. So he assaulted No one should experience that. So my experience, I was able to articulate, put it down, and now it's a sequence for everyone, because you have to have stuff that's tried and tested, not just in theory, where I'm sitting there writing from a book, you know, or from other influences. I've had handcuffs on me several times. My records are clean to date, because I have not lied, stole, or robbed from anyone. But they wanted to scare you know, and I didn't go for it. And of course, here we are today. Any other questions on anything specific? And I'll try to be faster, but I wanted to make certain that you comprehend martial law.
We do. Wait there. I had a very good one there.
Yes. Okay. Excuse me, my old horn going off. All right.
I tell you what, could we go on to South Africa for a little bit? And can you explain what's happening down there? Because there's an awful lot asking about South Africa.
Okay, so with South Africa, currently the situation is I have issued about 3 or 4 vouchers to various royals for projects. So obviously, to get the vouchers cleared, especially in a debtor system, it seems to us that the bankers need education on the difference between debt and non-debt, and I'm pretty sure most of you have seen the videos I've put out there explaining the difference. So a debtor system is exactly that. We are the creditors and grantors. So we don't fall into that debt system. An easiest way for me to explain it, as I did on the Zimbabwe news, is to say, look, okay, we'll do this in credits. We'll use the term USD, pounds, rands, or whatever. But we just want you to recognize the credit system and use that as the money with the same namesake, let's say. So with South Africa, we've had a lot of trouble with FNB and a couple of other banks there. They just don't know about it or enough about it. They've tried to deny it. They've tried to do this, that, and the other. So now I've actually got in contact with the governor of the South African Reserve Bank, who we will have a call with tomorrow. Now, I did see an interview with Jack Kellier, the CEO of FNB, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, because I always am, and I'm very transparent. A guy's been on the run for so long, nobody can seem to catch him. But apparently, he came on the news yesterday or the day before, and I have demanded an interview with the same reporter, because he should have effectuated these vouchers by now and has not replied. They are obligatory. They are law. And if you are non-performing against that obligation, then it is my task and duty to enforce that law. You still have to discharge on 3603, and the comptroller, which is the general, and the issuer of the voucher, which is the Federal Reserve Act, Section 8, and under the central banking regulations, WP 97-1, you have to discharge, whether you accept it or not. And they still have not given me legal reason as to why they can't. They only have 24 hours to do this. This is a 72-hour obligation. So now we've gone to the head, or managed to get hold of the head of the Federal Reserve, or the Reserve Bank of South Africa, and I will be talking to him and trying to assist clearing the debt of South Africa. So what that means is when you clear the debt, all interest that's ever paid can be placed back into your accounts, because it's not debt. Real money does not inflate. So as a prelude to put money in people's pockets, what I'm trying to organize here is that they get a one-off initial payment, and then the rest can be resolved over time. So you have money in your pockets, you can go out, you can buy food, you can actually sustain your life. Because it's all about we the people. And we're fully aware of the corruption across Africa, not just in South Africa, but we're fully aware of the corruption that's gone on, that is still going on. The mandates on these vaccines, the mask mandates and everything else, and as the general will explain, any statutes on and any law is fraud, it's felony. You can't put a statute on a virus. It's ridiculous. Okay, they wouldn't even understand what it was. You could not tell the coronavirus to put a mask on. So, and also with the fact that it's not been proven yet that is a natural born, let's say, virus, it's corporate, it's manufactured. So it falls under UCC bankruptcy. The vaccine is not natural. As a natural being, a living entity, you are injecting a poison into a system. It's a toxin, it's a virus, or it's a viral, or it's an RNA. It's an adjustment to your body. So therefore, that falls under UCC bankruptcy. So then it becomes our task then to counter this. And we know about the full Mitch and many others that are going into these various courts. But I'm pretty sure once they get to know us, they can come our direction with the Dignita Veritas and obviously the General's Courts and others that we deal with. and to put this right. My job as the let's say the enforcer or the enforcement is to go and pick these people up and bring them into trial, which I'm more than willing to do. So we have people already. We are setting up everything and putting everything in place at this moment in time, because one of the main questions is when is everything going to be sorted out? So the answer to that is it's a very difficult task, as you can imagine. So what we're doing is we're going out with a voucher system. Now, either the bank will do it or they won't. If they don't, it exposes. If they do, then we can work with them and help them remove the debt and get your interest or any interest that you've paid back to your account. So they are not actually going to lose out by doing this. They're actually going to gain, because your money is then converted into real money. We can put a voucher down to the balance sheet. You have X amount in assets and the rest is cash. Well, the rest of the cash is just money. It's nothing. It's debt. So if we back that up, that just flips it straight into hard back cash.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. So is there anything else?
Yes, it was. We were asking about whether it's anything to do with the SWIFT system, and are the vouchers
No.
from a trust?
No, the SWIFT system is a debtor system. The SWIFT system is a message system. It's nothing more than a text system, which confirms from one bank to another. There is actually no money moved through a SWIFT system. It's just, it's not even assured or insured. It's just a confirmation. It's a tube that you really don't want to be in. Now, 1% of the world's transactions are SWIFT. The rest are FedWire. You have other facilities like screen to screen, FX4, IPIP, IPID, you have, which are now null and void, I believe, and you have the new SWIFT GPI, which is a gross payment initiative or invention or whatever they call it. Again, it's just a movement. It's a text message or a movement of a piece of paper, be it an MT103 or so on all the way up to MT999, I think it is, which just gives that bank the reason to credit. It's all debt. It's all debt-based. There is nothing backing it. There is nothing to back a text message. So the voucher system itself is real cash. We don't use it on the SWIFT system, and as I've explained, it's a credit system. So generally, if you want to go into that voucher service, the voucher process, which is quite simply a credit system via the Federal Reserve Bank and through your charter in the Federal Reserve Bank, which can act, or not even act, it's a fact, be used as real bona fide money within a nation to remove debt.
Yes, very well. You have to have certain conveyances, and again, everything is pertaining to status. Okay, status. You use what pertains to you, and of course, what was pertinent to I and to the First Nation and to the trust. I factored the instrumentality of a voucher because it is proof that something was paid or settled before the actual exchange gets there, to the person that's buying and selling. The account is settled. Once I say voucher, it is a lawful discharge, the actual court mandate to perform. It is attached to an arrest warrant. It is also, it sets the proper status of the account, meaning that if I present this to the debtor, CFO, or the CEO, or the registered agent, or the accountant, they were to make the deposit. It is a private depository, and most of the people did not comprehend that what got twisted is everybody performing together as the same. So I don't incur the deficit. I must know that. So per my status, I would have to use something that I do not incur. And of course, you needed a grand system of support in order to facilitate this, because everything was 180 degrees backwards. as a debt and inflation. And of course, it puts people at a disadvantage. So the discharge is the proper term because we often use pay. That's the person in essence that is under the curse. We don't want to say it that way, but of course, that's the one who's subjected to penalty. To pay is different than to discharge. And that's what they have not done. And what they did is through television and through sports and through the singers and through the rappers and all of the pretty people that's before you, you know, all of the stacks of money, then they send it here and then he's exchanging this, nothing is paid for. It's just the work of a, I don't want to even say so much demonic, but it's a front of getting people to come, to fall in love with what begats per this note and not comprehending the severity of what they're getting into. So we were not educated. We were misinformed by the public or the parliamentary educational system purposely, so that you will not be able to ever come from up under debt. You will not have anyone, and they're not government, and they're not at power to do such wickedness, because if they were so secured, why would you waste your time? These people were purpose in having an orgasmic experience of seeing someone detriment. Let's just put it that way. It was never really a monetary issue. It was just people that whoever got here, and I'm gonna introduce you, my brand of tennis shoe in the store. You know how it goes. You like this, I'm not gonna promote that, but I'm not really liable to really tell you, but they were. And of course, the negotiable instrument law, one is that choice to use, but you need a honest banking institution, and you have not had any, because all of them were on lies, see? And that's what the curse that fell on the reserve system is, because of a misrepresentation, a lie. And the people that get paid don't care, because I made $50,000 a day, or I made 50 million a day. I'm not going to care about whatever debt falls on anyone else. I'm gonna have me a good time. So this is what they did. So I hope that you understand that the voucher system, the conveyance of energies that are connected, that are backed, bonded, assured, you see? Of course, interchangeable, like coins and currencies, Honorable Lee, the same. And of course, you need a conveyance to transfer, so it wouldn't be a misrepresentation. So that's the solidarity of the system. And of course, it takes people out of debt. And of course, I would rather be a recipient of a grant that is not politicized than someone trying to give me $1 trillion that I need to pay back in 5 years. And no, I can't do it, because you're already in debt. It's just a bad situation. So I hope that I've shared with you that the instrumentality of choice that is noble and bona fide and can only be used is the voucher.
Okay, thank you, General. Okay, anything else we have?
Yes, we have a lot. Can you talk about human rights, current human rights, and how they are?
Hello, everyone here.
Hi, Ambassador, how are you?
Respects BT.
Who's that?
I think you're on mute.
Sorry, Ambassador, I put you on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah, could we go to the General to ask about human rights? That was our main question on Facebook before.
Well, it's all liberties reserved, and I'm sure the General can bring you up to speed on that. I mean, your inalienable rights, the right to work, the right to earn money, the right to own property, the right to everything. They are your human rights still stand. There is nothing impeding them except for misinformation. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, General, but they were never revoked.
Oh yeah, no, never. And a trustee can never take the position of revoking anything. Remember, they have a fake under color of law legislature. From the beginning, you can't premeditate your mind to do wrong. In Latin, nothing could be put on paper that was illegal. Of course, in the context of them speaking of the phrase, I'm not a Latin master, but what I've learned, and they'll speak a phrase, and that's what it meant. Pacta Sunt Servanda means all agreements are to be kept. It's not broken up. Half of the agreements are going to be kept or not. So rights, let's deal with liberties, okay? Again, rights sometimes can be context, and this is why to go back and forth, because some of these lawyers that put together some of these constitutions and charters were under rights themselves. People that use a right terminology or the language that pertains to rights mostly within peculiar institutions that have to have unions to remind themselves to respect humanity. So they are anti-social, anti-constitution, anti-human, defined in the Uniform Bonding Code to be just that. So you must effectuate yourself at liberty, you see, because they are going to be in the nature of slaving. And I hate to put it that way, that's what slavers do. Want you to think that rights can be revoked when they have none themselves. In fact, wow, man, I wish I could get some, but I will have it the next time. But in the sheriff book, oh, great. Let me read this to you. Hold on, I got it. Let me read it to you on rights. Hold on for a minute, please. The sheriff book, we may look at the United States County Sheriff Handbook, page 20 through 21. This is what all of the sheriffs on the American islands, and of course the parliamentaries, whether they are constables or marshals, it would be the same. We're talking in terms of statutes enforced upon any people in the name of law. It's fraud, felony on any and all bureaucrats, the same. Okay, this is a transmission that I transmitted to the Secretary of State, and that was let me make certain I have the I did transmit it to Honorable Lee, but that was Kelly Thomason, the Secretary. And what we needed to make a distinguished situation is that the Great Seal is a republic seal. You had liberty. The declarations, what is this? The Declaration of Independence. When the colonial presence made their declarative statement, that declaration was in the context at liberty, and then some left their liberty seal and decided to create a colonial corporate seal, state of Virginia, 600 annis. You get what I'm saying? All of these got their liberty. Then they decided to go up under estoppel and created a corporation that will violate or undermine Aboriginal title and also liberties for those that are free, whether you fawn, fetch, short, all, whatever. Any type of being, okay, is greater than the servant, as Honorable Lee always say. He talks in terms of the government is servant, and of course, we the people are the master. And you don't have to agree with it as facts. If you don't, then you're contrary to nature, and the aura around you will affect all of your movements. You see, so these particular people wanted a right-based system. You know, do you have rights? Do you have rights? Well, why do you have a union? I wouldn't work there, because if you got to be reminded on how to treat humans, I don't need to be there. I'd rather be at liberty. So you want to emphasize on the liberties. I hope that that is clear. You can look at your definition and you see rights, and they're synonymous, and sometimes they can be sort of antonyms. But those that are in liberties, they don't talk in terms of I have rights for someone. That's why I'm always at liberty. Respects be to you all, and freedoms, of course, can be capped. Also, let me show you the facts that I'm talking about. This is the liberty cap, Phrygian cap, liberty cap, and then you have the pallius cap of the freed man, the one who was freed, and that would be 600 annis. The other side, the state of Virginia, the state of Virginia police, or the political body, were the freed people. This is at trust, at liberty. See, so the ins alternatives and libertas guaranteed.
Okay, thank you.
Why is the Statue of Liberty in the water and not on the land?
Wow. Well, that would be a question that you would ask them, but you know, somebody militarily, maybe Lee want to, but I'll say from my situation was imported here. And of course, that particular emblem from my stance was that what they wanted people to see coming here. So this is what they were pretending to be. And of course, others found out a little different, that they were led to the political sector. So they used the libertas bond and all of this salvation to become traders and slavers, you know. Mr. Honorable Lee, you have anything you want to say about that statute?
Well, I mean, it's obviously there as a landmark as you're entering into New York, and you know, it's just one of the first things that you see. So that's the reason it's there. There's no point putting it in the center of America, and it's a pretty heavy thing to carry around, I'm sure. So they must have just floated it and dumped it. It came from France, if correct me if I'm wrong, and that's where it was set. I think now going on to the District of Washington, D.C., New York, and everywhere else, they went, that's not actually a state in the U.S. New York is it? You know, you live there, you know, more than I do about the geography of the United States or the American Republic.
Yeah.
So it was the first, as people ventured into the U.S., that's one of the first landmarks there, or the first places. The Irish went in there, the Welsh in there, everybody else went, and that's the common route that they went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they come to Port Royal here, Jamestown. You know, so I can literally walk to the river. I actually played around the river. I lived in all of the abandoned 19th, 18th century buildings downtown. All of that before it was developed in the 70s. You can go through there. My father had a store. It was flooded out down there in the 1970s. Very bad. Everything was covered. So they left everything. We could run from street to street, go through every type of building. We played in all of the dark stuff. But anyway, that is Jamestown. And that's where some of the history is being corrected, because we were already here. Okay. It wasn't my people coming in from elsewhere. You know, you can get a reference on other scholars and they would talk to you. But of course, there is a 2-lane highway, and it's the trust at the Secretary's office. And I'm emphasizing that particular seal now of liberty for the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can you please explain the unlimited credit on vouchers? Like go through from start to finish.
It's an infinite credit. So if you'd just like to just fill people
How
in.
has it come about? Where has it come from?
Yeah.
Everything.
All right, so it's based on the Commonwealth of Virginia, the land instruments, and then obviously all of the trusts, or the trysts and the liens and everything else that go with it, which creates that infinite credit. So if there's anything you'd like to add to that, is General, if you want to jump in here on that one, just to just let them know how it came about.
Okay, as I said, I had a special relationship. This was not for everybody everywhere. No one came to tell me anything in my ear. It is the result of integrity, and because I was a victim, to want to make certain as First Nation that I do not incur what foreign debt. I was not taught this by anyone. It's in my spirit. My grandmother, I'm not a debtor and I'm not slave. My grandmother, other one, said the same thing. So I respect them. I kept those principles, and all of that goes with my commerce. So a voucher in anybody's hand, just like a note, it may be not power, it may not do anything, but in this one hand, it does. Good and bad. Integrity, the due diligence of one, and then one who may not be that endowed, pertaining to, you know, all of what's necessary to facilitate it. Remember, the primary objective was to undermine the credit. So it was not like you're going to walk into any store and here's a voucher and they're going to honor it. It's a relationship, but on the basis that the state of Virginia went into a private account of Lamont Belton and pledged my account to back them. And I didn't find out about it. Years went by and I had already created vouchers and all of that. I never thought about it until the trade reports came. And I was able to confront the risk management. And of course, I asked them to pay iron silver and they couldn't perform. And I was able to, you know, have the manifest. I chased the law first so that if anybody act up, I can do what I do. I would have the excuse to do it then. So I didn't chase the money. See, most people get into idolatry. The reason why I found out about the vouchers is because I was not looking to get rich or paid. I was looking to not incur. You get what I'm saying? See, there's a difference. See, and that integrity is what I kept about. And because I'm a priest and I'm exempt, I can pledge full 100% tax credit without a voucher or any conveyance, whether it's a sovereign coin or whether it's a napkin, a piece of paper. I can just write the instructions or the dictate because it brings the cloth or the parchment to what is intended, or in essence, that express manifestation to perform pertaining to that matter. So the voucher, I don't want people to fantasize. It's a secured system of men and women that have come to assist I'm thankful for Honorable Lee, because many years you have many criminals. And I can assure you all that upon my inspections and my involvement with he's been straight direct, never wavering, never undermining, always 100%. So this gift of the Aboriginal is what we are defined to do, to share with the world. Why would Belton do it? Easily, because it's easy to do. It's easy not to lie. It's easy not to steal. It's easy not to kill. It's easy not to murder. It's easy not to rape. It's easy not to beat a little boy up. It's easy not to rape a little girl. Very easy to do. See? So it's easy to pass out. And the reason why is because I was one who needed. And I swore to God that I would never forget. And most people, when they get into a position, they forget. So I didn't. So I wanted to take what's necessary, and we constructed a reserve banking system, and that's the unlimited situation because it's connecting to the state of Virginia, defaults, which is endless on monetizations, and that they have pledged to I. And nobody back, nobody back in any kind of way, nobody comes back. I've met them all, we have all talked, they've all seen the bond that they tapped, and they're applying it. So we have a good start here, and this would help other nations. Most people may not ask, or they may know about the reserve banking system. But because of the idolatry, oh, I don't care, the feds are followed. They funded me. I'm not worried about how I got started, but it's a media of exchange, appearing to be real. Media. Look on the Federal Reserve website, it says media of exchange, not medium, or in essence, in terms of something real, as we may know in an exchange of currency. But if you so desire to participate with this system, the Federal Reserve will hold you as though that it is. Okay, so they give full disclosure. It's about us being into idolatry. And once we stop idolizing, then we can hear clearly. And we have a system that would help the other nations to become self-sustained, because you'll be able to comprehend these things and maneuver yourself.
Okay. Out of interest, South Africa uses the British judicial system they offer from USA Supreme Court. They differ, not offer. That was my term.
Okay, so with the court systems in South Africa, okay, because there's going to be a lot of questions about South Africa and what is going on. There's a lot of distension. The food sources have been attacked. The transportation systems have been attacked. It's a usual scenario of how to take over a nation. We know all those instigators. We know who's involved. Now, going back to this judicial system, it's the same as in any other nation. Now, we have appointed UCC1 common law, natural law judges. Okay, there is currently 3 or 4 of them in South Africa. They are currently trying to stabilize that nation. They are busy behind the scenes. Now, I come in with the voucher. And as I said earlier on, the General and I will be speaking to the governor of the Reserve Bank tomorrow. I'm fully aware of what they've all been up to. However, the most important thing is the present moment. And we're not going to look back at the past, not at this moment in time, because you are in dire straits right now. And the actual releasing of the credits to the vouchers and getting that money or that monetary system to the people is crucial at this time. So, as I've said, we're constantly working with royals and kingdoms within South Africa. We're non-political. I don't do politics. No interest in it, because it is a fiction. We don't do fictional, we do factual. So once we've spoken to the governor, and I'm sure many of you have seen the interview I had with Zimbabwe, and the interview or the report that came out in The Guardian in Tanzania as well. So I will be doing further interviews with news entities in Nigeria, Ghana, and Gambia, and other places as well. We are currently trying to speak with Zambia, Namibia. So the southern, or the SADC, let's say the 25 nations in the SADC group, and all 54 nations within the African continent. We're speaking to many royals or high-level entities there to start pushing this voucher system forward to as a debt relief in a sense, because the IMF themselves, I think a couple of months ago, they asked for a summit in Africa with all nations to deliver a loan, $285 billion. Well, you can't afford to pay the debt you have now. Why take on more? So the general, I believe you've leaned and levied the IMF and the World Bank. So we can actually throw that into credits and credit those liens. So now we can actually move forward and give Africa, or every continent or every nation, the funding they require to start reducing that debt that they have.
I have another question. This one's tickled me. I believe that these vouchers are backed by stolen gold.
No, I'll tell you about the gold of the world. It exists from dating all the way back to 50,000 years ago. It's never gone anywhere. It's still here. It's all in the underground all over the world, as everybody may know. This is not backed by anything stolen. It's original people's land. It's First Nation. It's in a first bank. There is various things backing it. You have cash, you have gold, you have assets, you have everything else. It's based on the land instrument of Virginia. It's not something you can steal. You cannot dig up Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia and move it to the moon. So no, it's not stolen. It's right there. I have a strong belief in, if you wanted to create money, because if you all think about this, how is money actually created? It's not that silver shiny metal bar. What is that? It's just a shiny piece of metal. So what gives it its value is a trading platform. You have the London Metal Exchange who put the value to it. It's like the Bitcoin. You buy a Bitcoin. You don't. I could buy a Bitcoin tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm going to be very generous and I'm going to buy a Bitcoin for $60,000. Where today is currently sat, I think, at about 37,000. So there are 21 million Bitcoins. You go and buy a Bitcoin for 60,000, somewhere in the middle will be the value of all of those Bitcoins, not just one, but all of them. And what do you get in return? Nothing, just an added value in a wallet. It's fiction, and it's backed by a fiat currency. So what is fiat? Fiat is debt. It's a promise to pay. So if you're asking where the illegality is, it's right there. It's a promise to pay, not a vouch to pay or a voucher. Big difference. So those promissory notes, or the debt notes, as we all know and love them, like go and buy our McDonald's or cans of beer or whatever you buy with them in the shop, they're accepted as a format of payment, but it's still an IOU. So like I said earlier, when a debtor system, it's already bankrupt. You're already operating under bankruptcy. It's illegal. So we're trying to flip the system to create or give it a backing, which is the voucher facility. So with that, there's no stolen gold. All gold is, nobody owns any asset on this planet. Nobody owns any gold either. You cannot own a bar of gold. You can own jewelry, but that's about as far as you can go. You have become a custodian or a holder who is a pledger of that asset. So they pledge the assets, and that's what gets monetized as a piece of paper for another piece of paper that creates lots of little bits of paper. It's none of it's real. It's not factual. So I hope that answers your question on that one.
Okay, can we know or get in contact with any of the 3 UCC judges in South Africa at any given time, and who are they?
Yes, you can. We've just opened a Telegram channel, and they are accessible there. Now, if you go to our website, ucc-1.life, they will be named on there for you. I'm sure many of you are aware of some of them. Two of them are actual kings, and the other one is a mandated to many kings. So we will give that information out. They are currently busy stabilizing the nation right now, and I don't want to actually give them or
They've actually already said that Fanny Fonzie is on there.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of his stuff's gone, well, near on viral.
Yes, well, you have Fanny Fonzie, you have the King of KwaZulu, you have the King of Hankamkwa Kingdom as well. So they are working in unison with each other, with various other provinces across South Africa. We are dealing, like I said, with the 32 Battalion and the Rekis and other entities to try and assist and stabilize South Africa at this moment in time. The government agencies or the government operatives or the fictional operatives within South Africa, we know what they've done. So without going into too much detail on that respect, everybody knows the problem there. Everyone can see it. I mean, we're not sat in South Africa at this time, and we're just getting an overview. So I do get a lot of requests for assistance throughout the regions.
Yeah, got a lot of contact forms on the websites. But
Yeah.
if anybody wants anything, you can contact us.
Okay, Honorable Lee.
Yes.
What do you put in place in case for anybody with vouchers, especially with the intelligence whatsoever, if they want to do due diligence on these vouchers, especially with the governors or the ministries of finance, who to contact? Those details also will be good to put them in place. I don't know whether they've been already. I think they are. But that will be also important to clarify it here.
All right, so it's very simple. Okay, you have the rules, the laws, the obligatories. You have all of the compliance pertaining to the voucher already issued. It's just a case of reading it. Now, if a banker, for example, is illiterate, or a banker cannot look up the laws, they're all obtainable on Google. Seems to be their compliance officer these days. Now they can also contact myself. I am the endorser or the enforcer of that voucher, and they can also contact the general as well, who is the comptroller, owner, and issuer. He has his own charter in the Federal Reserve Bank, and why bankers really required to go around the rest of the world to confirm and check when you already have the court order, the court signature, and the court verification right in front of you, it kind of baffles us slightly. So it's not a case of them, yes, they want to try and confirm through what? A corporation. A corporation is a bankrupt entity. That's what it is. The banks are bankrupt, they work in a debtor system. This is not a debtor system. So to confirm, they have to come to those who have issued. So therefore, on the voucher itself, you have a medallion stamp, which is a guarantee, which is an insurance guarantee, which was produced or manufactured by JP Chase. So they should recognize that. To begin with, they click on the barcode, a site comes up, and they need to confirm with us the password or entry into that system to confirm. Everything is there. It's in black and white in front of them. So there is no real argument.
Okay. The other question also is that how did these vouchers come to an assistant to clear the debts of the country? How does it happen?
Because it's not.
I may have an idea, but it's good that you explain it clearly.
No, I know it's a creditor. The general is a comptroller. Okay, he issues these grants the credits. So this is not a promissory note or a promise to pay. This is a credit. This is a non-debtor note or a non-debtor instrument. So no, we can't fall into that category. It's not a debtor note. There's a difference between creditor and debtor. So we don't fall into that category. Like, as I said, this is not a promise to pay. This is to pay. This is a vouch. It's a voucher. We're vouching for it. So there is something there backing it, solidifying it. We're not promising to pay. When you walk around with your $10 to the butcher and you buy your meat, you're promising to pay. That's an IOU. So when you take your meat away, you've dropped the note. What does that butcher do? He goes to the farm, or he goes to the slaughterhouse to buy another piece of meat to replace the one he's just moved. That $10 note goes through the entire system. It's a currency, it's a flow, all the way back to the bank.
Okay.
Who ends up with that in the end? You know, that's the way you've got to see it. It's a media of exchange. It's fictional. Whereas,
yeah, I think it's clear enough. Then it's just I do understood personally, but it would have been good you clarified, and I think
okay.
it is well explained. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Honourable Lee in general, if I give these bankers a paper, they will laugh at us. How do you get around it? Just with no.
Okay, with the yeah, I mean it's educational. Okay, so you have to remember, if you're giving a banker a piece of paper, we're not giving.
Useful.
Yes, it's a very nice piece of paper. But the point of the matter is they need to read the obligation. So you have UCC 3603 to discharge, which the General explained earlier on. You also have the Federal Reserve Act, Section 8, the Comptroller, and WP 97-1, which is the central bank's own regulations. If they don't know their own regulations, they need to be sacked or dismissed, or they need to go and educate themselves. We don't need to educate them on their own regulations, but time and time again, I've had to do that. So on presentment, it's all about the performance. So you issue me a project for X amount, I issue you the credit, the voucher, we're vouching to pay. So that all that's left for the bank to do is to perform. We're paying them 20%, which gives them the capital to credit to facilitate. Okay, we're only asking for their facilitation services. We're not asking them for anything at all. It doesn't actually cost them anything to credit an account. Credit is margin. Margin is money somewhere else, i.e. the voucher, which is fully cash backed, is cash equivalent in any currency. So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, the other question, Honorable Lee, I got is what UCC will play in order to reduce corruption in Africa. As we all know, a lot of African countries have been actually, destroyed by corruption. What UCC action will help towards that?
Okay, that's a very simple question to answer. They're all operating under UCC bankruptcy. They have a corporate seal. So if you're a bankrupt entity operating, you're already operating illegally. The corruption aspect of it, you can be picked up, any CEO, and placed into prison, or incarcerate that particular person, that entity. If you've committed a crime, therefore you need to be arrested. It's as simple as that. If you've committed crimes against humanity, there is very severe penalties. So we could also have the Ignita Veritas, Sovereign International Justice Court, the ICC, the ICJ, the Hague, and the two courts or on-record courts, the jure courts that the General has to trial. This is not a, UCC is universal commercial codes. It's the universe. As we're floating off into new frontiers, and as I do explain time and time again, if you have an astronaut sat on Mars, sat on a rock, eating a sandwich, and an alien comes up to him and asks him, what law brings you here? He has to go to universal commercial codes. There is a book. So any court on any land, on any territory that can't come to a verdict on a case or a trial have to revert to UCC. UCC common law, natural law, not UCC corporate. Don't get them mixed up. So crimes against humanity, yes, well, that's punishable. That's a 25-year sentence and indictment straight away.
Yeah, but the majority of the crime caused in Africa is that's what is actually happening. Then what do you what UCC prepare towards those crimes against humanity?
Well, the crimes against humanity do carry that sentence. It's a life sentence. There's nothing less. And it's also determined by the courts. It could be any court. It could be a constitutional court, which is a common law court because it's constitutional. You can go to the Supreme Courts, which are on record courts, but they are still private entities. We are the private and commercial law enforcement. So with that, you can go to the natural law, common law, and we had a call prior to this public meeting with Ignita Veritas, and they're fully on board with this, and they will take all of those cases on board, every single one of them. Now, you've got to look at the world. So if the world is operating under bankruptcy and everybody's committing a crime, it would be like trying to arrest everybody. You would have to clear out Russia, stick a giant bubble over the top of it, and throw everybody inside. It's not going to work. So the easiest way to resolve that problem is from the top down. You break the chain of command that is instigating the evil, so to say. So by doing that, everything tends to fall apart. You lose your chain of command, everything will fall apart. So there is no legal reason. Everybody has to stand down while we do or perform our tasks or duties, or we subcontract those law enforcement or international agencies or anything else that we indemnify and give authority to perform.
Yes, and let me add one thing.
Sure.
So that you see the power. A lot of people, they may be concerned about U.S. and the federal system of those aggressive people that may be doing certain things. And what I wanted to share with you is, let me take you to the Department of Travel, or to the State Department in the United States real quick. And let me read to you, where do they resolve their issues at, okay? I wish that I could take this down here. I'm gonna do this because I want you all to see this, these special people. So I'm gonna take this off my board here. And let me put this up close so that you'll see. For the ones that are aggressive, and I love it, I want you to bring all of the big bad people. They need to get a lesson so that they understand that the big bad people did a deal with this particular seal here on this continent. Okay. All right. That's the United States right here. And you see here, United States Department of Travel, the State Department. This is for non-dash citizens that are not political or in the corporate sector. Okay. Now, this is United States of America Department of Travel, 2000 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest Suite 194 Washington, District of Columbia, and then 2006 is their zip code. This is a legal instrument. The fee schedule and all of that of what the United States is going to do to anybody who violates their employees or anybody that they're doing business with. This is the State Department that's connected to the United States President, which is the debtor on the North American Republic lands. United States is the corporate body, and to the republic for which it stands, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Okay, so let's read. Fee schedule affidavit and official notice to law enforcement and public officials regarding UCC filings and insurance bonds claims. Notice to agent is notice to the principal. Notice to the principal is notice to the agent. Please be advised that if any member of this organization is unlawfully kidnapped, where they're not a goat, or removed against their will, let's put it that way, and or forced into a contract without committing a crime, involved in a victim damages and legitimate witnesses to the alleged crime, commercial invoices and financing statements will immediately be filed with the Uniform Commercial Code or Universal Commercial Code against all of the public officials, debtors involved. The agency's dash debtors, they are representatives and the superior officers responsible for the conduct of its subordinates. Any violations caused by force, contracts entered into or entered in under color of law to conspire against the individual, non-dash citizen, national, or its related trust or estate will be invoiced as but not limited to the following: 200,000 per occurrences, 300 per tortfeasor. And they have 12 different indictments here. let's go here. Let's see. Finger there. Look at that. 200 years. The director signed it, and what they're doing is they're going to monetize a person that violates them on the spot, but they said go to the Uniform Commercial Code to get your justice, this jurisdiction. This is the United States. I hope everybody is listening around the world. The United States is not in power here. They have never been. They need the Aboriginals, their families, my people, to do what is necessary to keep the balance of heaven and earth, the first bond, okay? Nature. So it's here for you to see that in the United States capacity of them, they said specifically to handle the matter, to resolve it, you would go to the commercial code to do so. All righty. This is a very powerful department within that fictional situation, because this is the Department of Travel, where you are either a foreign national or an American national, and you get the same protections from their civil, legislative, police, or military 100% if you're not enfranchised as they are colony or, in essence, corporate enfranchisee.
Okay.
I just wanted to share it with you.
Okay. My general,
Yes.
the other question I have, what are we preparing to put in place to tackle all these problems?
Easy. It's in place already. We just have to transmit the directive to the one who violates you. Let me give it to you plainly. We have to be in the mind that you don't see them as just workers. The key word is an obligor, and you are the obligee. So when they swore, whether it's to you or your mother, your father, to that trust, you saw here, it says, the one that's a national or its related trust or estate. I know you might cannot see it, but you have these to you. I'll make sure Honorable Lee has these things in his file, okay? And what happens is the UCC office, they hijacked it, and you came up with the 1956 version that when the secure party creditor asserts itself, that it winds back up under a state court pretending to be admiralty maritime and put them at default, and they're not. So the good question that you have is, it was worked out, you would just promulgate. We have a promulgation such as this, see? And the promulgation goes out to the criminal or to the terrorist or to the tortfeasor, and they are directed on what is, and to become educated quickly, because you are encumbering a matter. So we're going to do the grace situation for 3 to 5 days, or we may not, depend on the severity, because the person in essence is the sovereign. We the people is the sovereign. So this is in place. The hub that we have is the proper educations to dictate the transmission from this particular judiciary. If I was going after tortfeasor, I would say, good day, this particular attorney's office, blah, 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 has committed an act of tort. It is now sequenced within the de jure judicial indictment. What facts do I have? Even if I couldn't prove his assault on I, the fact that he's under bankruptcy and I'm complaining exposes him as an LTD, LLC, illegally operating. They may not think it's fair. It is, if you can operate under bankruptcy. They defrauded all of you all as their creditor, as your creditor. You get what I'm saying? When you file bankruptcy, they defraud you as a creditor. So you can foreclose without being nice. You know, we just been too nice, no education. So you have the Uniform Commercial Hub, which is the World Marshal Authority, or AlterNations. They're moving in spirit to handle the affairs and to transmit like a legislative act that they do. I was sent on a promulgation. Matter of fact, let me read one to you real quick so that you'll get it, brother. Let me make certain that I get this to you. In humanity, I have to share this with you because he's wanting a real situation. Let me give it to him real quick. Hold on, stay right there. Let's do this here so that you'll see. Okay, I just transmitted this earlier to Honorable Lee, and I know that you all cannot see this, and please forgive me for not having as much astuteness about this particular computer. But anyway, let me get this to you. This is how you will address the issue, and Honorable Lee, you can share this with him. It opens up, I wanted to deal with the COVID statute before they rolled out the COVID vaccine. So let me read to you. Please listen carefully. This is a lawful transmission that I transmitted to the Secretary of the Commonwealth, Kelly Thomason, that is in the cabinet with Rock Nottingham. The state of Virginia, let's say it real loud, the state of Virginia, Virginia London Company, that was dissolved in 1606, 1624. Let's keep that in mind as well. Under bankruptcy and colorable law as well. Let's keep that in mind. Now, Uniform Commercial Code Article 1, Jurisdiction, Great Seal Perseverando. I'm Grantor Lamont-Durrell Belton, sui juris et law, private international commercial law, transmission to Virginia obligor. That's the key word, Kelly Thomason, under UCC bankruptcy regarding the COVID-19 statutes of frauds. That's how I announced it. I announced it as a fraud. The UCC is the authority, and I'm calling that you are guilty. All righty. Now, let me share with you further. I give my status. I share with them. I don't read all of this, but I come down. Let me get the last paragraph here, so that you see what is. Okay, I open up, and of course you want to be nice and kind and respectful. So this is the second or third paragraph. But I grant to Lamont-Durrell Belton, sui juris et law, also demand further for Virginia liaison to establish an intermediate or immediate communication hub that is ab initio relationship that is secured between Aboriginal creditor and colonial debtor via uniform or universal commercial code as Virginia intergovernmental and Virginia advisory boards programs already existing, active to foreigners, non-Americans, other people, the Children's Fellows program that the governors go after the young people to turn them into politics or politicians, Asians, Israelis, and other African countries that you are directly with, okay? Then I have, I, Grantor Lamont-Durrell Belton, sui juris et law, entered my Seminole, Pacta Sunt Servanda, and Lex Jurisprudence is your priesthood, Aboriginal Indigenous title, Nations Love Covenant for Peace at 3 Virginia powwows. I had to shame them because they're always talking about the Indian that they got a relationship with, the $5 incorporated ones that threw us off on the land, okay? Ceremonial drums and all of that. Now I get to the relationship because I had to let her know that this is Lamont that is on the reservation with the other Indians. I have several powwow relationships with all of the Aboriginal people. So let me bring it and keep it consistent with you as I have dealt with the last secretary. You want to keep your good doings before them. Secretary of the Commonwealth, please arrange the meeting. We also are certified private native bank with the U.S. Treasury also. The Virginia Treasury usage or did use my credit. The Bloomberg report reports it, 16-year account is active. Yes, we funded you. That is a reminder. I always remind each one. So here we go. Here's the matter. C, U.S. County Sheriff Book statutes enforced upon any people in the name of law is fraud felony on any and all bureaucrats. Further, Aboriginal title UCC 1 jurisdiction anti-tort coronavirus 19 promulgation effective immediately 12/10/2020. Uniform Commercial Code is the anti-civil tort feasors bureaucratic arrest warrant jurisdiction for enforcing statutes for nullified illegal legislatures. Politics legislatures are not common law. You needed consent. Next situation. All debtor, federal, and state statutes are forbidden to enforce on any Aboriginal, Indigenous, free woman, and free man the same, not just Aboriginal Indigenous people. Yes, our UCC jurisdiction here at Great Seal Perseverando have Aboriginal, Indigenous that are sui juris at common law. The only American law, non-citizen, nationals, American USC, not subject to the legislature, civil jurisdiction, and general political body. However, is protected via USC, may claim, and is UCC lien protection abroad anywhere from any of you all's forces or the offices. On American Republic is lands, continents, lands, and globally. We are the mothers and fathers, priestess and priest, nurse, private apothecary, doctors, the first. We the Seminole Pacta Sunt Servanda, de jure, priesthood. I gave them the account, jurisdiction, collateral lien levy account for civil asset seizure forfeitures, bureaucratic malfeasance is active. We are at pass and is to date de jure creditors of record to the debtor Commonwealth of Virginia, State of Virginia, to assist, help as priest, as all deserving via funding for alternatives, medicines, procedures for natural born peoples. We are IGO and NGO also. Warning to all bureaucrats for the COVID-19 statutes of fraud. See, I didn't say it was a disease. That's where you lose your battle. It's a statute that was illegally enforced upon you. That's how you get them. You don't get into, oh, whether it's this amount, this and that. Honorable Lee made a great statement. It's crap that they're putting in the body. But the way you can him is he's a bureaucrat and he was speaking like it was at law and got with a tech head, a technical person, technocrat, a bureaucrat that was anti-law in a peculiar instituted system. Peculiar institutions do undermine your liberties. That's what they all went into. That's why they don't have the Perseverando seal at the original 13 states, the colonies that they swore by. They've stepped away from the declarations of independence, of liberty sustained for everybody, and went for the terrorist aspect of, if you work for us, we'll protect you and we'll rob the trust and we'll put everybody else under slavery. So at short, I said these things to her. She has my contact information, my number, and I close. Contact Honorable Deputy at the time, his number. If General Belton is at training, you can contact. I always make myself available. I'm talking with them. See, device may be busy, but you can signal another transmission respects to you, Kelly Thomason, to your family, my friends of Virginia, whether you like me or not, because there's a record that is made. I'm gonna give you love. I'm gonna respect you. So how cowardly would you be that I've defended what in essence is the guarantee for us? How would you come back through a medium after I've transmitted this to you? See, so I have the instrumentality, and I'm going to close off that note. This is the instrument, in short, that is at record. I am creditor to the state of Virginia. It's barcoded as all through the trade accounts and as a master account. Okay, it's private, but that's the facts and it's on record. And also you would see that I am tax excluded. See, tax exempt, so I don't even need no money. I don't need no cash. The invoice. All right. So thank y'all so much. I hope that you've gotten further education.
I have a few more quick questions from people. Yes. I think I've got 4. Right.
Okay.
How can people in the UK, Scotland is where I am, assisting get involved? Is the system live here, and will the banks here facilitate the voucher scheme?
Yes. In short, yes. It's any payment institution can effectuate it. It's fully assured, it's fully insured. So not only do we have the grantor's assurance on this and vouch, it's also guaranteed by the United Nations and Virginia courts. So like I said earlier on, the medallion stamp that's on it, which is the insurance, you can go to any bank, they usually have a medallion service. Bank of America, JB Chase, HSBC, they all have a medallion service. So we've actually insured it as well. So yeah, any bank on the planet can cash these out.
Yes.
If you get in touch with me or go through the websites, I can make sure you get in touch. I can put you in touch with other people in your area. And that goes for wherever you are. If you're in South Africa, I can put you in touch with South African Marshals and so on. Yeah,
so also keep in mind that if you're asking for credit, we need a project or something that is of, in essence, to help, because there's obviously no harm to life, no harm to planets. And then the voucher is the credit. Then it's down to the banks to perform. If they don't perform, then we can move to seizure and foreclosure and the bankruptcy. So there is a 72-hour obligation on this, but we are quite lenient with it because obviously the banks need that education. And they need to understand the process. It's not very difficult. It's not rocket science. So yes, any nation, anywhere on the planet. If you had a bank in Mars, we could probably help out there too.
Yes.
Hey, crimes against humanity sentence should be death.
Well, that's still active.
What life sentences in South Africa is a free board and lodging ticket.
Not necessarily. We do interacting. We have Robben Island. We can also use Guantanamo Bay. We can also use a lot of private institutions. You have to remember that we're not going to chase people down in the street. We're not going for local crimes or local criminals. That's the police to deal with. Now, we can actually indemnify those local police into common law, which makes their lives a lot easier, especially in the formats of arrest, because the laws have become so convoluted now, especially with under admiralty or under state laws, federal laws. Everyone's getting all mixed up with everything because there is 100 genders, different genders out there. There's discrimination about this, that, and the other. It goes on and on and on. Don't bore me with your rhetoric. Simple. Keep it very simple. Keep it common law. That's it. So when you actually go to arrest, and as the general stated earlier on, you can't come to a verdict in any court. You have to refer to UCC. That's it. It's as simple as that.
Okay, thank you. Honourable Lee, is the voucher system linked to Jazara Nazara? And
No,
quantum
no.
financial
Okay, so briefly on that. Okay, the Nasara Jazara is a whole new other entity. Okay, all right. So Nasara Jazara was signed off, I believe, in 2000 by, of all people in the world, it was Bush Jr. Didn't really know what he was doing at the time, but he did it anyway, which was a great thing. I would love Nasara Jazara to happen. The quantum financial system's been effective and been working in the banks for the last year or so, and it has actually compromised corrupt officials within the bank. There is something coming. Okay, I can't state at this moment in time, but it is coming. But I don't believe that it's going to come in that format where you have Reno admirals and so on and so forth, the GCR, the RV, the Great Reset, and so on. I think what will happen is there will be a release of sorts, which will flip the debt on its head, and it will create a freedom. But the problem is you have so much distension going on in the world that is scuppering it all of the time. 2015, a declaration was made for the GCR to happen, or the RV, and for all the Zim dollars, the NIQDs, and so on and so forth. So go on.
Honourable Lee, is the voucher system the government or a citizen that has a project?
Anyone, absolutely anybody. So just to finish up on that, the quantum financial system, yes, it is active. You have the Starlink in the sky and everything else, but it's still there.
How can we educate the police and law enforcers? They have hear about this information. They think they serve the government and they will do everything they can to exercise their authority over and oppress us.
Okay, well, it's the same thing all over the world. The government has taken over. It's a corporate, it's under a corporate seal. All the corporations, big pharma, big tech, the World Health Organization, and everybody else, they're an organization, not an authority. So you have to remember that. And you also have to look at the fact that if you fall under governments, let's take the UK, for example, you have de jure, which is the Queen. You have de facto, which is Boris Johnson, de facto. So the point of the matter is the police or any associated three-lettered agencies and everything else, as the general mentioned earlier on, the writs or the memorandums, they can be pulled back into line. They can be put back to their original authority if they so choose to. It's down to free will, as is everything else. But the problem is they are being hammered with so many different laws and all these mandates, which we obviously said earlier on about statutes. They're actually not legal.
They're not. And there's a such thing as color of authority, color of law, color of office. Color of authority is what it is, and this is why the frustration, because a great sense of the population know this. And in fact, I sent a news article today that one of the fraternal order corporations, I have to say it explicitly so no one would think that I'm just talking, the state of Virginia, that particular charter or that particular embodiment had all of their citizens in a local township to take to rid themselves of the police department. The police rose up against them and charged them. The Commonwealth fraternity stepped in and dissed the charge because it was a blatant disrespect because of the ideology. Some people think police means to rob, to steal. parity. Now, look at the facts. If you look at the FBI website, go in and look at the white collar crimes or under color of law, and it will have the police defined as pirates. See, so most people are concerned because all of these people, they're out here, they're killing and doing all of this stuff. You have to be above that, and you have to manifest your empowerment, because the only thing that is going to be respected is the facts, not so much the truth. Someone can believe oatmeal is better for you than rice cakes. That's his truth. But the fact is, the matter is, does it have beneficial properties in it? Does it have bleach in it? Is it bad? What are the facts? What is the components? Then I'll be able to determine what pertains to I. So the police, I found them to be victims as well, but there was far too much aggression on not meeting the people at the commonality, because it was corrupted by men that wanted to have their way with women. And we need to talk about these things. It's pedophilia. All of these things is what the state or the federal institutions fronted. So I shame them. You can't talk to I about law when you have anyone amongst you that have a charge that is this foul, okay? So I keep my status up. I'm gonna always be a noble and respectful, and I'm gonna handle them on the deficit, because they cannot talk above me. They are under the facts of what they chose, put them under I didn't choose this. This is a reaction of somebody touching me, and action causes a reaction. So you wanna make certain that you don't question yourself. And I know how it is, because you're seeing all of these things. I saw the same thing too. I had mad, angry police knocking on the door, this one coming, you gotta be in court. And before they said, yes, where is it at? And I'm there before them, because I wanted to call their bluff. And that's why I'm here this day. If I wasn't who I be, or what I know that I was back then, in respect to ourselves, I wasn't a mastery man. I was just a man that wanted to be peaceful, and a judge wanted to tell me that I couldn't exercise my Aboriginal title. And he lost his mind, and I spoke to him. I said, the next time I see you, I would be a judge or lawyer or something of that myself, and I have manifested that. Juris consultus, bailee, bailer, consul, of course, marshal, grand sheikh, marshal, all of these different positions, not that they're important, sharif. Of course, I've had to be a lot of things, and they were bona fide, because the offices on the domestic level, you have to call their bluff. Who exists? Okay, you're talking, but we don't see anyone. That's what they wanted. The FBI, Homeland Security, all these guys told me the same thing. It's a 50-50 thing. Some of them are really for you. Remember, they came out of a woman's womb as well. They came from fathers' loins as well. So they wasn't always like this. So I have to meet them on a commonality, separate the wheat from the chaff, and respect each particular one who gives, that respect. And if they don't, then I put the other one on the list. This is how it is. This is why we have a university. You're going to always have a bad student or a clown in the class trying to mess it up. But you are distinguished from that, because why? You got a university, and he came looking for you for education. So you can casually handle him a lot better. And the psychology, because why? We're at uniform. We know our position. So do not take lightly. We have a promulgation. That is the education in the fact of what you need to resolve the issue. I don't talk about fantasies. Like if I do an article, or even if it's a sermon in ministry, I'm not going to just be, oh, today, the Lord says, or today, God, or whatever. No, I'm going to give you the facts. Today, there's water down the street that is shooting up through, and this is illegal. It's been like this for a week. The people are suffering. Here's the resolve. You got 3 to 5 days to do it. I'm Grantor Lamont-Durrell Belton, such and such and such. That's how it is. The creditor must speak to the one like that. Because remember one thing, when they filed bankruptcy, they defrauded you as a creditor. So you have the power.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else?
Okay. Yes, actually. I would like to assist in Australia before I move overseas in 4 to 8 weeks. Please direct me to information and/or procedures to begin.
Okay, so if you go to the World Marshal Authority.life website, there are documentation on there. And if you would like to join, and you have a great skill set in law enforcement, project managers, it's open to everybody. AlterNations is open to everybody. We're all sovereign. Okay, we are born, we are sovereign. It's as simple as that. Okay, we are not a manifestation of a corporation. We are not, you know, we're not manufactured. So the essence of AlterNations is for everybody to share their intellectual properties, to be part of that sovereign intergovernmental organization. I would prefer to call it an IGA, a sovereign international governmental authority, rather than an organization. We're not an organization, maybe an organism, but we're not an organization. So we have to clear up some of these words or these misspells. So the term is spell, to put a spell on somebody. So, and look at the languages on contracts. You get tied and bound. It's a con with traction. Continents contains ants. It's all there. So you have to learn the court system, which is waterborne, a court of water. You go into the dock. You start there in front of a naval officer who wears a wig. If you're going into these realms, if a pregnant vessel is going through the birthing canal to the dock, a lady is going into hospital to give birth, a baby comes through the birthing canal and lands in the hands of the doctor. It's all the same language. So you have to look at the terminology of these things. They need to be addressed. They need to be changed. So instead of a contract, we go for agreement. Instead of a treaty, which is a submission, we go for a covenant.
That's right. Yeah.
Covenant is a cove with a stream. Nant means stream. So, you know, you look at this terminology, you look at life itself, you look at a herd mentality, all of these things that these entities, bureaucrats or everybody else throw in there is still alpha. It's still all of that and more. So to join us, yeah, anybody is welcome to join us. You just let us know. It's an onboarding documentation there, and we can assess you and maybe place you into a role that would be specifically that we need filling in your nation, your country, or wherever you're going to move to. I believe you said you were moving in 4 to 8 weeks. So yeah, it's open to everybody.
What did the Marshal read from when he said it is fraud to present statutes and acts as laws? Man cannot be subject to man-made rules. It's fraud. Sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. Go on.
All right. You want to answer that? You can take that one. Any statutes? You mentioned this actually with the Black's Law.
What are these? Oh,
County handbook.
sabotaging our vouchers because they're saying it's old system and not even checking with federal bank or following procedures. Oh, sorry, different question. Yeah, what did the Marshal read from? What was it you read from? I think it was Black's dictionary, wasn't it?
Yeah, Black's Law Dictionary.
Well, that's Black's Law Dictionary, but he was talking about in terms of state statutes. That's the Sheriff County Handbook.
Yeah.
Okay.
United States.
That is on our website, actually.
Yeah, you can download the Sheriff's Handbook on the actual on the website. I think it's on all of them, isn't it? Yeah. So this right there for you to read.
Excuse me, I think is very important. I can say this, but honorably, if you can entertain them, just give me 1 minute or 2 minutes, because I want to answer that person's the county handbook, but I want to give you all the reassurance, because I know where some of you all at. You know, I want to make certain that the sheriff and the local police, that guy that I got to deal with, let me share something with you all.
Okay.
1 moment.
All right. So any
Right,
time being?
Kerry kindly advise where we'll be able to maintain information to contact Marshals in South Africa. Well, if you actually get in touch with me via websites or email, I can put you in contact with them. I'll give them your contact information, and then the nearest one will be in touch with you.
So we've opened the Telegram page today. You've seen us on Facebook. Are we on Twitter? We have a
yes, I haven't gotten very well with it.
Okay, so
I'm just not into it.
All right, so we do have a Facebook page, so we're very contactable there, and obviously the links on the websites. So everything is downloadable on the websites. The documentation, I'm sure the general's gone to pick up right now. I should have printed that off, really, the Sheriff's Handbook. But if you go onto a website, it's downloadable on there, and you can go from, I think, page 20 to page 24 or 25, where those laws are written. There is also, is the sovereign handbook on the website?
No, it's not.
All right,
No, but I can put that on tomorrow.
yeah, so we'll upload the sovereign handbook as well, which gives you the sovereign laws. I mean, it's all the same thing in essence. It's common law, it's natural law, it's the law of nature.
The other question was, is it religion dependent, pretty much? I can't find the message now, but it was, you know, is this?
No, it's
dependent
not.
on your religion?
No, that religion is your own self-belief, is your own belief. That's entirely up to you. That's your free will, is your, oh, there you go, he has it right there.
Okay. And,
Yep.
and let me read one thing. If I don't know if I cut you off honorably, please forgive I.
No, that's fine.
Okay, this is the first colonial. Remember, the sheriff is colonial. He was only for the colonies that came into the lands. There was already enforcement here. Okay, so remember, I have to keep the balance because see, it would be a hijacking on titles. Okay, so you have people that exist regardless of whether they look this way or not. If they're the first people in that land, that political system is subject to it. It is servant to it, no question. When they write contrary to it, it is an act of terror against nature. They shouldn't have done it. Don't ask why. This is what the sheriff said. This is what you ought to do, or you would comprehend what to do. Okay. Now, let me go to one point. I want you read this to you all so that you'll know that I was not making this up. So, as Honorable Lee said, is page 20, and you got page 21. But let's see. If I take this page here, you see page 20 at the bottom right there. Okay, and let's see if I can put my hand right here where it says, right above here, the thing here. The real law. I don't know if you all can see that, the real law.
Yeah.
Okay, and you might can be able to see where it says statutes that are enforced upon people in the name of the law. You might see it somewhere, I can't really see it.
Yes.
It's fraud, okay? Now, the second page, the page 21 ends up here in the top corner where it says fraud. Okay. Now, let me share with you further in the sheriff book. It states that color of law is the appearance or semblance without substance of a legal right. So on page 22 of the sheriff handbook, he goes right into 18 USC. Okay, that's one indictment. 241, then you have 8 US 18 242. Come on, Mr. Sheriff. Let me show you a little bit more. He has 18 645. Look at the indictments. 18 USC 654 872. 1001 1503. All of these are indictments. Okay, and let me share with you why. The sheriff office was there to be anti-political and to be relentlessly against those who force themselves on any of the sovereigns. So let me go to page 29, and in the colonial presence of them, they were able to master this, and it is no excuse now. Here we go. So we go on page 29. Okay, page 29, you get it briefly, you'll see, and I'm gonna read as quick as I can. It says, sovereignty is superlative and thus admits to no degrees of sovereignty, but definite by definition. Sovereignty resides only in the one God, deriving no authority from another. Then they have Romans 13, 1 through 2. Romans 13th chapter, first verse, second verse. In earth, men are ordained sovereign and subject only to God. Bureaucrats in their capacities are not sovereign and have no rights. It's quiet in here. Did we hear that? We're asking a lot of questions about what these people think. The sheriff department was to be over the FBI, all created US situations because he was deemed to be God, law, common law. So the sheriff book express, oh yeah. So it's not that they're not educated. It's they were undermining, or certain sheriffs that I met directly were told that I would educate them and they didn't. So remember, you got a 50-50 education that wanted to be educated and some that are criminal. These are people that went into trust. This is the book that you must study before you leave the sheriff department. And it's right here where my finger is, bureaucrats. Bureaucrats in their capacity are not sovereign and have no rights. They have authority given by the people, subject to the Constitution, and have a duty to speak when demanded by the sovereign of the people to give an account. The state cannot diminish the rights of the people. So this is why we have the UCC, because the UCC has the common law and have deemed the bureaucrat to be the obligor, you see? And you can just foreclose them. You want to be nice and kind. That's why we had a promulgation to transmit to the sheriff or to those that are pretending to be securing the land. And that is not Lamont stuff. That's 1611. And the first 8 sheriffs that existed in the United States capacity came here, Great Seal Perseverando, right down the street, James, where I used to play at, all of them in Jamestown, they all came here, these first 8 sheriffs, and they were not just typical. That was distinguished for their situation, and they had the Aboriginal as the noble oversight or to transmit, because that one was working with the king and to effectuate at the king's bench for the tribunal. So the common law marshal or the sheriff at the time is strictly for the tribunal to make certain that liberties are not breached, and he is to have the forum there for the sovereign to come in and execute the writ and arrest relentlessly without the one, to arrest the tortfeasor or the one who has brought the demise to the sovereign, the people. I hope I made myself clear. That's the book. It's not Lamont's book. I just wanted to read it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one more question. I'm not sure if it's relevant or on topic, but is there anything in the way of tools or knowledge available which can assist with minimal interference with respect to international travel and passports? I have to apply for a passport soon, which of course comes with a level of submission to the state's demands. I'm concerned with mandatory testing and possible vaccination requirements.
Where is she from?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I'm listening to you. If honorably you want to say something, forgive me.
Yeah, again, sorry, somebody's going to, did somebody mention something? Reversing to this question now, you're talking about travel. Yeah. So that would go to the travel department. Now, if you look at your passports, it's like anything. If you go to, and this is where it gets slightly convoluted here. Now, if you walk into a bank or you walk into a court or you walk into any entity, they have to make you sign in blue ink. Okay, it's color of sea or color of law. Now, with a passport, for some unknown reason, they want you to sign that in black ink. So that is a medium of travel. That's freedom of travel. So you're talking about testing and vaccinations and everything else. Again, these mandates, these statutes are fraud. Yeah. They are not illegal. To actually give somebody a PCR test when we don't actually, well, we've got reason to believe that they don't actually work. They'll test you positive for anything. Again, it's an insertion of a device into your brain through your nasal cavity. So it touches the small membrane in the nasal cavity, which can obviously leave debris in your body. So there has been videos and reports of people pulling them apart and not knowing what particles are on them. There is a swab. And if you were to take a test, I would certainly not use that device at all. I would actually ask for a blood test or which is quite easy to do. It's a finger prick test or a swab, a possible swab. But also I've heard that those swabs also lead to sore throats and the feeling of metal in your throat. So again, my advice on this would be to actually decline it.
We're under attack.
And is that person still present? Also, another remedy is TSA. You do have like airlines. You call the Office of Inspector General or that particular general, as I've done. I transmitted him the promulgation. One of my deputies here needed to get a hospital operation on his Achilles tendons. And they prior told him he needed to do all of that. When he got there, they took him in a private room with his people. They didn't swab him. They took it off. They didn't force the COVD on him. They respect him, and he has a due diligence to use the hospital any time that's present. So a lot of stuff goes with your status. If you have been in the community, which I have not been chicken or scared at anything. So if something happens, I know that as an elder, I would stand up for the younger. So he's 37, he's married, and he had concerns. He was a new student in AMLU, and I said, okay, let me do the promulgation. I transmitted, and it's a statute, and they knew and they comprehended that they couldn't force it on. There was no argument about you can't do this or this amount or this. I didn't get in no blood stuff. There's a statute. If you violate them, we're coming to get you one day or another. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, in South Africa, they have people in hospitals here in South Africa who is appointed by World Health Organization who decides who live or die. If we refuse tests in the hospitals, we might as well go home. They will not help us. Furthermore, we are murdered in the hospitals. How do you protect yourselves in such instances?
Well, again, like I said, I'm dealing with South Africa, and these problems occur, and these questions get asked all of the time. So with that being said, we have to bring the law into it. I mean, the biggest question is who's got the biggest gun and who's going to win this battle? Are we going to war? Are we going to fight this and that? No, we're not going, we're doing this in a peaceful manner. But if you want to bring it to our door, we will deal with it. So the point of the matter is, right at this moment in time, I'm very aware, not just in South Africa, but all over the world, the crimes that are being committed by the vaccinations, the people dying, the people who are suffering. I've seen video after video. There's some of the videos some people don't want to see, but I have to sit down and watch them. Yeah. And, you know, it's absolutely disgraceful. Now we're at a point where we're at a turning point now where we can actually go to town on this and start the arrests. We are putting funding in place for the marshals. We need to be equipped. I'm not going to send any marshal or any of my marshals into a situation carrying a bag. I'm not going to put his life in danger. Okay. I want to make sure that firstly, he is secured or they are secure to go and take on the task that has been given to them. They are safe. They have the best equipment and not to be just beaten up or dragged down for entering a building. They are still human. They're still human entities. They are not above the law, neither am I. And the point of the whole thing is there's no point sending McDonald's the clown into Burger King to buy a burger or to try and arrest the head of Burger King. It just doesn't work out because the staff will beat him up.
Okay, then.
Correct. And let me add one more thing. The risk management, I'm gonna prove to you that they knew this and they were wrong. Each government is required to have a risk management because all of them are declared injurious. Okay, yeah. That's the Uniform Bonding Code. So it's not that they don't know, and they were supposed to settle the dispute. So they already had a system of accountability and to hold one liability, limited liable corporation, not limited liability. So that Treasury has the risk management for the director on civil claims. That's right, for those that may want to hold the bureaucrat accountable, but I wouldn't push you that the process exists. This is why Aboriginal and Insular Tribunal exists, because I have counted every risk management on planet Earth. They all are under fraud because they use the note. That's why you don't have most people pay out, and they choose who they pay out. If you got a social or some type of situation with the government, then they'll pay the employee because they can go back in and manipulate the treasury. But if you are sui juris or separated, well, we'll attack you and take your chances at us compensating you or paying you. This is why you have the UCC system, so that the sui juris, you got to see yourself, God put you in a position to hold accountable and liable those who put the earth and nature at risk. If you want to be free at liberty, this is your jurisdiction, it's your time to fly. You see, respect be to you.
Okay, I have three more questions, but I'm going to put them into two. And then we'll probably finish up because we've been on for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so what are the safety of the people issued the vouchers? And they end up being, what happens if they end up being victims? Does the WMA have in place for them?
Well, they're fully assured. I mean, there's nothing a bank can actually do or any law enforcement can do. In regards to these vouchers, they are also guaranteed within their own systems. So there is no real argument here. It's non-negotiable. So, you know, if you've got a bank that does not want to accept real money, then there's a problem with that bank. We'll just foreclose it. So we can go through various means. We don't even need to be in country, or we can just go to there, because every bank, you have to understand that every bank has a correspondence. It's originated from somewhere. So let's say JP Morgan, the FNB, they have a correspondent. That's where that bank was born from. It wasn't just appear out of nowhere and have lots of money in it. It's a correspondence account. Even the fact that it's in the building, it is still an account which has special privileges or accounts. So as it's an account holder, it's accountable. It's a limited liability corporation. There is no limit to liability. They are liable for everything within that institution. Okay, so they have to go to, let's say, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, HSBC, where they hold correspondence accounts. If we put a writ order on those accounts, they're blocked. They lose it.
Yes. And one more thing, there's a difference between a bank and a transfer agencies. If they were bank, they would perform. Transfer, they would take any type of instrumentality and transfer it. That's what they are. ACH, don't talk no stuff. If the person makes the presentment, know ye men and women by their presentments. Deposit, transfer. If you don't, it's fiction, it's defrauding the creditor further.
Okay, right. And here's a question for you, General. Do we have to do a status correction before we're under common law, i.e. become sovereign?
No, you are born that way. It's just good to have a community that supports you as sui juris or sui generis. That's what I've been promoting, because you need to have a family. You need to have that support. If you can reason to that, and your mother and your father and people reaffirm, that is good. But you don't need to make an announcement to be sovereign. What we have is a bonding process that you do not commit fraud and don't injure, you see. So that's different than that sovereign or the one who's innocent. And that's what we are to be focused on.
Yeah.
Okay then. HL, arrests. Who does the arrests? Are they local law enforcement or are they military?
Well, it depends on where the arrests are to be made. So if we're chasing somebody all over the world, obviously we don't want to go chasing him or wasting all that money, time and effort chasing somebody, when you can use an enforcement that is in the local vicinity. We can issue the quo warranto, we can issue the lien or the writ, and they can be picked up and then delivered to us. Yes, we do have to obviously pay or vouch them to bring them to us to obviously go on trial, but we don't need due process because they're already committing a crime under UCC bankruptcy. It's already been called. So we actually have to look at the facts here. We have marshals all over the world, and they can employ the local enforcement, or we can, you know, we do deal with police forces, Interpol, everybody else. It's not that we're against any of these entities. Yes, there is good and bad in everything. But the point is, we tend to go with the good. We have the court systems that will deal with their crimes once they're lifted under whatever crime they've committed, be it operating under bankruptcy or crimes against humanity. They're all indicted. Okay. So we have to, as an enforcement, follow the indictments.
So who would lift big names? You know, say
well, it could be myself. It could be anybody I deem to go and do that, or who I order to go and do that.
Right. Well, I have unmuted everyone, I think. So just a little feedback. How has everyone got on with having a meeting like this? Has it been? Would you like another one? It's just a purely out of interest.
Hi, my
Hello.
name is Nolene Lee. I am an advocate. I stopped practicing from January 21st, well, 2021, because I basically, for a long time, I realized that we've got a wonderful word in Afrikaans, says frut. It means it's so bad, it's just out of whack. So yes, this has been extremely informative. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor. We would maybe like another follow-up. There was a lot to take in. The problem is, and I'm only speaking for myself, the misleading and the miseducation and the deception. I think there's a big thinking out there that all lawyers are bad. We are not bad. We were not
Not at all.
told it properly. And we were literally jumping up and down, and I've had this feeling for many years. You know, you literally feel like a monkey jumping up and down in front of the bench, or due respect to the bench, if I should say that or not. But so yes, there's a lot to take in, especially in terms of the procedures, the correct wording, unlearning all the stuff we were taught, so that we can present it properly. We have the legal brains to do that, and the legal education and the knowledge. It's just to be able to restructure that in a universal format, so that we are all on one page, and we can move forward, so that we can start our common law courts and just make a start. We have judges already. We need to somehow break this matrix, most of the matrix, and actually there are extremely few that I know of. And I can only speak to the fact that we've been trying our excuse my language, damnedest or some that are still in the system are trying to fight the system from within the system. I personally disagree with that, because that's like walking into a wall and knowing you're going to break your nose. So yes, we have an extreme passion. There's a lot of people waking up, and we would just need maybe a bit more structure in terms of educating us to how to go forward. Because as I said, thank you very much. It's been very informative, but it's like being in a twilight zone now, because everything I've believed that was right is actually upside down and back to front.
Yeah.
And I would say to you, I work very heavily with the lawyers or attorneys and sharing with them. So, you know, I'm a private lawyer myself, and of course, it's just proceedings that pertains, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I also work with many advocates down in South Africa. Again, they're advocates to kings and everything else. So I do work, and they're being educated by us as well. You know, very accepting to it, because they, you know, it is a change of perception of the law. It is something that's always been there. The common law's always been there. It's been around since 700 AD. The natural law, you know, has always been around. So it's just a case of educating yourself. I mean, I'm just in law enforcement, so I don't have to really. Just the general tells me what to do. That's it. Just me having. So just go and get them. Fine, I'll go and get them. That's it. But the point is I do plan the operations. I do plan everything as, like I said, the law enforcement, the military aspect, the legal aspect of it as well. And we're appointing judges. We can appoint judges. We have that bonding, and you know, we're not an organization. We're bonded. We are an authority.
This is why you got to remember. And there was a few people getting a bit confused with our websites. They're all .life, because we're not an organization. We're not .net. We're not.
Well, it's about life, isn't it? You know, you're a sovereign, you're a living entity. Yeah. So that kind of screwed.
Corporation within a corporation within a corporation.
We're not.
We're not. No, we're not.
And so that is why we need to get out of the system.
Yes. Well, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point. But it's such a colossal system. You know, years ago when we were at this, it was like an ant fighting a bulldozer. But now we've built a bigger bulldozer. And, you know, it's taken time to do that. So now we have to put everything in place. So this is where I'm working and operating now with the likes of We the People. I'm doing news interviews. I'm explaining, you know, in simple format, in simple terms. I mean, it's not as extensive as this meeting has been, but I just try to keep it very simple for the people because they don't understand. And I think, what the hell is going on? So I'm saying, well, we're with you. We're the people. I'm a person. You're a person. Everybody's a person. We're all people. So the point is, you need the simplicity brought back to it, and to understand that debtor system, the difference between the creditor and the debtor, and you're all living under that debtor system. And that could be taken off you. It's already been taken off. You've been scammed into this, and it's as simple as that. So we're coming in, we're trying to assist the banks. We're not going against them in any way, shape, or form. Everybody seems to think that we're going to go in and arrest all the bankers. If a bank conforms to the obligation, then we have no reason to arrest them. You're the ones who fell into that debtor system, not us. So what we're saying is, okay, you've done wrong. We know you've done wrong. Take this obligation to court order. If you don't, then we'll be forced to foreclose. But I'm not willing or ready to foreclose on banks because people have accounts. That's where the money is. I don't want to take money away from them. The foreclosure simply means we walk in, we take over, we put the voucher up to back up the money that's already in there. You get all your interest that you've ever paid back. So we're trying to resolve. For every harmful act in common law, there is remedy. And there's resolve. I'm offering resolve right now. You don't want the remedy. So, you know, it's an education, not just for everybody on this call. It's an education for the bankers. It's an education because they're institutionalized. They don't know any different. They think money is money. That's it. And they want to get as much of it as they possibly can. But it's debt. It's debt on somebody else. It's a promise to pay. So hopefully that answers your question, but we're more than happy to educate, as the General says, he has a university.
Yes, Alistair, the spelling, it's Marshall as in Martial. Marshall.
Yeah.
World Martial Authority .life.
Yeah, because as we explained earlier on, it's the old spelling. It's the ancient martial law, martial arts to settle a debt.
If you're having problems going on there, go on www.ucc-1.life.
Yeah, it's all there. Okay, so anyway, I think we should close up here, and as it's gone so well, I believe we should maybe.
And thank everybody for coming along.
Yes, I mean it's just been a pleasure.
Thank you, Honorable Lee and General. You all did well, and I think you have to schedule another meeting.
Yeah,
yes, we will.
do. Sorry,
Okay.
You have done.
I have to leave now.
Okay, you go.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Alistair, it's you.
Hello, Honorable Lee.
-1.
Thank you, Honorable Lee.
Yeah, it's,
Thank you very much, sir.
.life. Not .org.
Thank you.
Organization.
Thank you, Honorable Lee, and thank you, General from Senegal, West Africa.
Okay,
No problem.
thank you very much.
well, okay, so we'll close out this
Thank you.
note. And thank everybody else for coming and listening in.
Thank you.
Honorable Lee.
Thank you.
Our websites, everything else.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lee.
And-
appreciate it. Thank you from Senegal.
Thank you, Deline from South Africa.
Okay.
Thank you. This
So-
is Simon from South Africa again, representing Zambia.
Thank you, Simon.
This is Rhoda from Ghana.
Bye-bye.